KH940, the extra tools.
I'm going to talk about the extra pieces and bits and bobs that can go along with the KH940. One of those extra bits and bobs is, of course, a ribber. For the 940, you have the choice of two, to my knowledge, the KR830 and the KR850. I think there's also a KR900, but I am not sure if it fits on the 940 or not. One of the experts can definitely help me on that one.
Here is my setup video for the KR830. The first extra tool we can add to a KH940 is a ribber. In this case, we will use the KR830, and here is how you install it. You start by laying the ribber on your lap with your knees under your machine. You already have the ribber clamps on the machine, and you are making sure that your connecting brackets are on the proper sides of the bed to which they belong. So you have the lever that you push should actually be on the other side. In this video, I actually have them on the wrong side, and I will figure this out in about 2 seconds. They simply slide over the wing nut there, and here I clue in that I have them backwards, so I'm going to switch them around. Not a big deal, you just turn them and they come off. As you can see, the lever should be towards your knitting machine, and they just turn, and then you push them down. You should not have to struggle at all, and even though it may look like I'm struggling, I'm really not. The 830 is really nice. You don't have extra brackets. They are all attached to the machine. You remove the nut at the top of those end brackets, and they slide into the slots on the 940 or actually any standard machine. Here we go. They go over and through. I hope that makes sense. You tighten the little screw, and then you have to secure those brackets using the clamps that come with your main bed. Takes me a few minutes to get those screws in all the time. I tend to struggle a little bit. The racking handle actually doubles as a screwdriver, and works pretty sweet. Do not over tighten the screws because you can snap off the head, and then it's quite a pain in the butt to get it out of the machine. I'm now putting my screwdriver in a safe space. And now I'm going to lower the machine and add the clamps. Push down the little lever and secure with the clamps. There's your clamps. Camera angles are not the best. But now my ribber is 100% secure. I tend to fuss around a little bit. Double check to make sure nothing shifted or I didn't have anything cross-threaded. And we're ready to go. I'm just testing my gap, and my gap is more than reasonable. I am now going to grab the connecting arm, which I store in the lid. I'm going to attach it to my carriage first. And then I will collect my ribber carriage. As you can see, it doesn't have the little buttons. It's just a very basic carriage. I'm doing a little test run to make sure that all of my levers are in the right spots. And when I have the carriage in hold, it holds. When I have the needles down a little bit, then they knit off. And I'm listening for any change in sound from the carriages before I even connect them. Here I am taking off the carriage, and I'm going to take a look underneath and make sure all of my flippers are flipping and flappers are flapping. Once I am satisfied that everything is working as it should and nothing is sluggish, then I put the carriage back on the machine and I'm finally ready to connect my carriages. Again, I am listening very carefully for any change in pitch, any clicking or anything that sounds out of place before I add any yarn to knit anything. I am also watching the connecting pin to make sure that my beds are actually high enough to each other so that they don't disconnect. I am not going to go into any more detail with the ribber. I think I've done enough courses on the ribber, and Diana Sullivan, her ribber course, bar none, 5 stars. Use her ribber course going forward. I am going to do the jacquard video though, and that should have been released already. Disc drive for the knitting machine.
Extra bonus bit number 2. An FB100 disc drive. I have to thank Cody for letting me borrow this. As you can see, the good old-fashioned 3.5-inch floppies go into these disk drives. If you find a working one, it's a unicorn. This one is working. And I have to thank Cody for letting me borrow it again. However, I only borrowed it to run this. This is a BL7 cable. It is like a DAT cable, but what it does is it helps transfer patterns from a working disk drive to the FB100 emulator. From the FB100 emulator from DK Knits, you can take your disk drive patterns and you can put them on your laptop, of course, or other computer, and you can put them into Design and Knit. That way you can interactive knitting or integrate in what is the word? Integrated. I'm not really good with English today. You can have your pattern that you are knitting from the disk drive show up on DAC, and you can see it in real time on the piece that you are knitting. I hope that makes sense. I do not currently have any discs with patterns on them in my possession. I just wanted to see how this all worked, so I figured it out. What you do with it is up to you. I'm not going to give anyone any suggestions here. What else do we have? We have a ribber. We have a disk drive. There's been talk of a ribber transfer carriage.
A KH940.
Okay, this is what is called a KH940. So 8300. Sometimes you get one in a box, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you actually get the instruction manual. Sometimes you don't. I do believe that they are available online. Well, the manual is available online. So this is what it looks like. These are your settings. It only goes in one direction. It only transfers from the ribber carriage, from the ribber up to the main bed. Zero weight on them. And it works about 90% of the time. You will have maybe 1 or 2 drop stitches. Follow the manual, you won't have any issues. Frankly, I find a bodkin faster.
A garter carriage.
If you've been a part of my page for any length of time, then you know that this is one of my favorite toys, or tools, accessories. This is a garter carriage. It does exactly what it says it does. Garter. It turns stitches into pearls and does amazing patterns. Am I going to use this for the knit along? Actually, I probably am, instead of my ribber. Only because I don't have to transfer stitches. All I have to do is tell it to knit ribbing, and it'll go knit some pearls in the ribbing pattern I choose. If that makes any sense. I will not knit the whole sweater using a garter carriage, because this is a punch card pattern, and I can actually work faster with the K carriage than with the garter carriage. And garter carriage is incredibly slow and incredibly delicate.
Design a knit.
I guess the last important toy for the 940 that I have is Design a Knit. And Design a Knit works with a little black box, which is a I want to say pattern reading device. So all it does is it lights up when this little magnet goes in front of it. And this little magnet I attach to the knit leader tripper on my K carriages. And then I don't have the massive knit radar, knit leader attached on my bed, taking up valuable space. Another benefit of the DAC system is its ability to plug into this little 8-pin port right here. So I can design a pattern in DAC, upload it onto a 940, 930, 950i, 965i, and I can knit whatever the pattern is that I create in DAC without having to go input and then all those little tiny buttons. It's kind of a way to sidestep 1980s technology. I'm not sure if this video makes any sense, but if you want to see any of these items in use other than the ribber, then I will make a video for it. In the next video, we are going to look at jacquard and how much fun we can have with jacquard using the built-in patterns on the machine. So stay tuned for the next video for that one.
The next video is actually getting to the knit along. Let's do attention swatch.